got booked out, like what kind of adventure were you running and what kind of players were you seeing? Was it experienced players, new players, a mix?
Yeah, almost all new players was probably the first year. Then I started seeing more and more people. Like I had, like a bachelor party, and they wanted to run, like a level 20 game, one shot. And so I started seeing like more, or players that want to run certain modules that their group DM didn't want to do, or a lot of people, like there was the forever DM that's like, I don't want to DM, I want to play. And so, that's where a lot of that came from. A lot of parents and their kids has been really big. But probably 50% of my business is like companies. I'll go into a company. I'll run a game for, one of their teams.
Yeah.
I kind of run like a same, like, I have like, maybe like 20 different games I'll run for, newbies or one shots. So like they get really refined over time, so I can kind of, run them without having to read anything. So it makes, like most of my games, I don't reference a ton of notes. A lot of it is just stuff that like I already have in the head. And so I know where things are going. So I try not to let that slow down play. There are some DMs that, if someone asks a certain question, they're going to go and they're going to try to figure out, like, okay, well, how tall should this structure actually be? And if it's not really important to like the narrative or how the pacing of the game is going, like, I'll just make something up. But for the most part, like, I think flow of play is really important when it comes to professional games. You don't want a lot of unnecessary downtime. Downtime should be where the characters are thinking about their next move and how they're interacting with the world, not waiting on me to find something. And because, like, again, it's very hard to keep all your notes organized. It doesn't really lean to a quick way to like reference, maybe benign information.
Yeah. Man, it's interesting. I mean, like, it sounds with very little marketing, you were able to jump up to quite a bit of booking. I mean, to overbooking enough to be able to help out other people in the community. Do you think that's a situation other people might be able to expect? Is there that much need in the market right now?
My original, uptick came not only from the fact that like I had been written up about my games in Bloomberg, but before then, the same amount of growth was probably due to location as well. There's, a lot of people with that want to spend their leisure time in San Francisco that isn't towards, your typical activities. But I do think there's a shift into more interactive media that people want to like consume outside of passive consumption of media. And so there is more of a place for this kind of group storytelling and tabletop role-playing games. I think the big thing that is going to see growth is the reason why D&D is so popular is it's an easy onboarding. And the idea that once you start playing D&D, it's so much easier to kind of grasp rules of other systems and other games. And people are making so many more lightweight games like City of Mist, Monster of the Week, Blaze in the Dark, all these other games that introduce new mechanics, and people are more apt to try those after, kind of getting their feet wet with D&D. I'm excited to work with publishers and StartPlaying. We're talking to some already that want to just bring some DMs onto our platform to run some games for free, just to introduce people to new game systems and new mechanics. And I think that's going to be the next big thing is people want to play certain games. There's no one that they can find to play it with them or no one to run it. And they're going to start seeing these opportunities like, okay, well, $10 for, 3 hours of fun, $20, like that's the price of going to a movie.
Right. Yeah. Very comparable to any other media transaction you might make. Yeah. Honestly, I think when I started talking to people about this, maybe a year ago, there was a lot of skepticism. There's still a lot of skepticism about like what should it cost, what does it get paid, like could you make a living doing this? And I do have a next question for you. Is honestly like, are you full time doing this now? But
no, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a full time DM. I like the work I do, and it's fun to be a full time DM for me, and I do enjoy what I get out of it. But it's just not something I'd want to do for full time. But I think if you are looking to do like DM for hire or tabletop full time, right now it's going to be a hustle, and you're going to have to do a number of things. It's going to have to be a bit of content creation, as far as like writing modules, having your own DM's guild. It's going to be a bit of monetization of content on streaming platforms, YouTube. That's going to be maybe like 5% for most people, and not a lot will make a lot of revenue. And then running games. So those are three like great avenues to generate income. But I mean, like living in San Francisco, like I don't see that as competing with being like a product manager for an e-commerce company. But at the same time, like it's still so new that there's not a lot of safety in it. And I think people should explore. I think people should put time into it. And if it works out great for you full time, like I do know a number of people that do this full time. I mean, Robert Aducci, he's a wonderful content writer. He's a wonderful dungeon master. He does this full time, to my knowledge. But I don't think it's for everyone. And I think you have to really instill yourself as a voice. And it takes years to probably get to a point where you can do it full time and live comfortably. I think freelancing in general is very hard to do full time. As far as like what you have to put aside in taxes, what you have to pay in your own health insurance, what you have to pay in your own, there's a lot of factors there. So I think for anyone looking to start, I wouldn't suggest trying to push to go full time. I would suggest trying to find a way to make it work with your current lifestyle, and try to maybe compromise a couple things in your current lifestyle to make a place for it, and just grow steadily. And if you have a great opportunity that comes along and you can take advantage of it, go for it. I know a dungeon master in Australia, and he gets paid by the government to run after-school D&D games. And so he is able to do this full-time because not only is his full-time job doing that, but then he runs games for paid outside of his full-time. And that allows him to like have that kind of career.
Yeah, it's interesting. The different the different successes that I've been reading about, or that I've been encountering or whatnot. People come from dramatically different angles, whether it's content creation, and building modules, or even one guy I was talking to just composes kind of ambient music, and like kind of looping playlists and whatnot. He's doing very well, in like that section. And then like that kind of content seems so separate from just the idea of DMing as a service. And you had mentioned having some like kind of company clients and whatnot. I was curious, have you done any, and also like a bachelor party, have you done other events? Have you done weddings, birthday parties? I don't know, like what other kinds of events do people?
I've done I've done quite a few bachelor parties. I was surprised that would be such an aspect, but I think last year I maybe did like 8 bachelor parties. Haven't done any weddings yet, but I've done like a number of birthday parties. So I'd say like, but still like corporate clients are still like probably the bulk of my bookings. Like I got to run some for like Fandom, for Nintendo. So like running for these cool companies is a blast. Some Facebook groups. It's a good time.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Let's see here. I don't want to get too sidetracked because otherwise I'm going to ask you about a bunch of stuff I wasn't supposed to tangent off onto. I was wondering, honestly, if there was an opportunity here for you to talk about some of the projects that you've been involved in, like more of your Twitch streaming and whatnot. I was really impressed with some of the videos I got to watch up. I only just recently started watching some of them, so I've only been watching kind of your backlog. But I was really pleased, at how different it was from some of the other kind of stuff I've seen streaming.
I mean, again, like it's the I made content that I felt like I would want to watch. And when me and the group I stream with, we've been playing D&D for 3 to 5 years. Everyone at a different amount of time. But we decided to start streaming. Our friend who actually works at Twitch just came and joined us for a game one night. It's like, you guys should stream your games. And I looked into it, figured out what I would need, and then a couple months later, we're like, let's try it out, and it just continued to grow.